we are for another episode of the Cozy Corner of Cinema, episode number 186, being recorded on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. I hope you all are doing very well. I hope you all are getting into the fall mentality when it comes to working on your art, whatever that might be. Really staying focused on whatever it is you feel like it has to be done. And I don't even just mean specifically in creating something. If you're working on a novel or a screenplay or a film or a book or a book novel, you know what I mean, or an album or whatever it is, man. I hope you're just staying not only consistent but persistent. You know, if there are challenges that come your way, maybe you're at a block in the road, maybe you're at writer's block, maybe you're going to film something and something fell through or someone fell through. Maybe you're recording, an album or something like that, and you have this idea for a song that's so great, and then you're like, oh no, wait, this already is a song. Like, well, man, my good idea is gone. Whatever it is, these are just random examples I threw off the top of my head because cozy corner of cinema. We're about cinema. We're about the arts. And I just hope that whatever these roadblocks that may come to you are not enough to deter you from what it is that you want to create. But anyways, it's a beautiful, beautiful time of the year, I tell you. It's just that cool weather, man, and I'm waking up early in the morning to go to work, and that cool kind of breeze is just so nice, man. In the afternoon with the sun peeking through the trees, it's just a wonderful, wonderful scenic view. And it's just great, man. Just driving, and at the end of the day, and I'm driving home, the sun is out. Listening to whatever music, podcasts. It's like, yeah, man, the destination is great, but you also got to enjoy the journey because if you're sitting there driving, or if you're commuting and you got to get on a train or on a bus, or you're driving with someone, you're just thinking about like, I got to get there, but not really taking in like, man, right now is cool. You don't want to be skipping forward to all the moments that you got to get to, man. If you're on a road trip with your buddies and you're not thinking about, oh, only 2 more hours and it'll be here, and then another 2 hours will be here. It's like, nah, man, just enjoy it for what it is right there. Don't worry about tomorrow, man. That hasn't happened yet. Worry about right now. But anyways, man, no, it's all good. It's all good here. It's a wonderful time of the year, like I say. But anyways, great getting to that. The fall weather, not just the weather, but going out, man, seeing the leaves, seeing the Halloween decorations on people's lawns, people carving pumpkins. You go to the store, there's aisles with candy and all that. And it's funny, I don't really know how many kids trick or treat now. I don't really have a gauge on if it's steady or not. Where I'm at, it's in an apartment complex, so my girlfriend was telling me about something. It's called Trunk or Treat, and I don't think I know what that is. If I'm right, I think it's like you go somewhere and people have like food out of their car or something, out of their trunks. I don't really know much about it, and I wasn't curious enough to look it up. So I guess we're gonna leave that for the moment in ambiguity. But it's just great to kind of have that mentality this time of the year. Great to go out and get ready for the holidays, but enjoy the time we got now too. We don't want to be jumping ahead to Thanksgiving or Christmas just yet. Even though I was out somewhere recently and they had Christmas stuff out, which was wild. But we're still pretty early on there. But anyways, I was popped up on Tubi, and now I know I'm gonna have another episode up before Halloween, but I figured I'd talk about it now because it kind of brings to mind some of the seasonal sort of films that we're going to watch this time of the year. And it popped up, like I said before, on Tubi, which is R.L. Stine's Pumpkinhead. And I just threw it on. It's R.L. Stine, writer of Goosebumps novels. I think he also wrote the Fear Street books. And I believe he's connected to that in some way, which is a bit more adult. And I think I know they made those into Netflix movies. I watched one of them, and I was good. I didn't need to see the rest. But anyways, I watched a little bit of this R.L. Stine's Pumpkinhead, and I watched about a half hour or so. So I was doing the dishes. I need something on in the background. And I was like, man, this is like a cool kind of just family movie. A good, kind of like a little adult. It's got a couple scary moments, but I was like watching. I was like, man, this is like we don't really get a lot of these anymore. And I'm looking at, I'm looking at this more from like an R.L. Stein kind of perspective because I'm looking up the director here. I don't know anything that this director has done. Directed by Gerard. Gerard. I don't know how to say her last name, but it looks like she has primarily done a lot of Tubi originals. Movies like Takeout, Invasive, and Invasive 2, Getaway. I haven't seen any of these movies. Slay, a lot of TV shows, and I only know they're from Tubi because they say the Tubi original on there. But I was enjoying it, and I'm gonna finish it up after it. But it was like a fun, enjoyable, Halloween film, and it's one of these things where when I'm thinking back to, like when people talk about films you watch around the Halloween time, and I've never really had a real kind of tradition to watch something on Halloween, in part because Halloween falls on different days, so some days you're at work and you don't have as much time to watch stuff, or it's a weekend and maybe you're out doing something, because this year Halloween falls on a Friday. So I'm sure if you check your local cinemas, I'm sure they're probably doing something, showing some, older horror film or anything like that. But when I was thinking back to not having any sort of set tradition, I do like watching films that are set either on or around Halloween or have that Halloween kind of mood, more so than traditional horror films. Because, you watch horror films throughout the year, or at least, I do, I speak for myself, watch all kinds of films throughout the year that um, you know, uh, for whatever reason, around Halloween time, I'm not compelled to go and watch specifically horror films. Even to get into the mentality of the season, I really like a lighter kind of Halloween films. Really, I mean, it's funny. I'm watching this R.L. Stein's Pumpkinhead, and I'm thinking back to which is good they put that R.L. Stein in the title there, because you don't want to be getting confused with Pumpkinhead, the film from '88 with Lance Henriksen. They made a couple sequels to those. I've only ever seen the first two, but I was thinking back to maybe one of my favorite kind of contemporary films in terms of like a good Halloween movie. Also from R.L. Stein's books is the 2015 Goosebumps movie, directed by Rob Letterman. It's got Jack Black playing R.L. Stein. You have Dylan Minnette. Amy Ryan. Jillian Bell. It's like I remember watching it in theaters, not really expecting a whole lot. And then I watched it. I was like, man, that's like a fun, enjoyable like family movie. It's a lot of like CGI in it. It's sort of like almost kind of like a contemporary version of the Monster Squad, if you will. You have all these different kinds of creatures, and they all are set in this kind of suburban setting. And we have our characters who need to kind of fight them off. In the Monster Squad, those characters are more adept and are more knowledgeable about the Universal monsters. They know, like, there's a great scene in the Monster Squad where they're quizzing one of the new guys about, monster trivia. And here, it's just kind of fun because they take the whole Goosebumps books and take, I didn't really read Goosebumps growing up. I think, I didn't. I think we had them, but I didn't really read them or anything like that. You remember them from the cover, but I like here they take these books and it's like the books come to life, and I'm like, man, that's such an interesting idea for a movie. They could have taken any of the books and had just done a film of that, or even had done an anthology like the TV show, which I also never watched. And I think they actually have a new Goosebumps show that was on like Disney Plus or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. 2023 to 2025. So I guess it's still on. Goosebumps is a horror series telling the story of a group of 5 high school students who unleash supernatural forces upon their town. Now they must work together in order to save it. I don't know if each episode is its own story or if it's an overarching sort of story, but I see that you have a lot of the actors in this. It'll say like 10 episodes, 8 episodes, 8 episodes. So I guess it's an overarching story, but I think it was smart for the film to not be based off of one book, just to have a bunch of different ideas thrown into it. And for what it is, it's like I said, it's just a fun Halloween movie. It's one that I have a weird kind of fondness for. Maybe not even weird. It's just a general kind of fondness for. It's I watched it again maybe a couple years ago, and for whatever reason, I think kind of between the main kind of love story that I thought actually worked pretty well between Dylan Minnette and Odeya Rush, and then you have Ryan Lee and Jack Black, and they have their fun kind of banter and all that, and yeah, it's a lot of like CGI monsters and stuff, but that's fine. I mean, for this kind of film, I'm not expecting it to be any kind of practical effects. Not all the jokes work; it gets very silly at times, but for what it was, for a contemporary, fun Halloween film, this is one that I found myself. I think I've watched it a couple times now. It's just that's the right word. It's just fun. It's almost knocked the microphone over. Don't want to do that. Oh my goodness gracious. Good lord here. But I also end up more consistently on Halloween. End up watching Ernest Scared Stupid from 1991, which again is just a just cozy sort of movie. Great practical effects in this. I forgot who did the effects. Was it the? I want to make a guess, but I don't want to say anything because I could be completely wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and look it up here. It was... Okay, yep, I was completely wrong, so I'm not even going to say it. I don't even know who to primarily credit for this. We have in the makeup department, and for the... Wow, there's actually a lot of names for the art department. For the special effects. Okay, so it was... Oh no, I was correct. Wait a minute. Okay, so it was the Chiodo brothers. What I thought I was gonna say, but I don't want to say anything. But there's tons of names on here: Brent Baker, Brian Burke, Charles Edward and Stephen Chiodo, Robert Corrigan, Guy Himber. There's a ton of names here. I don't even know who to primarily credit, but in the visual effects and the makeup, and again, a lighthearted, fun movie. Ernest, played by the great Jim Varney, ends up accidentally, unleashing these grotesque sort of trolls, goblins, if you will, onto the town. It's a lot of like silly antics. It's very silly. It's very kiddie, but there are some solid special effects in this. Solid, lighthearted horror moments. It's very much a family horror movie. It's one that I have an affinity for. It's just surprising because I didn't grow up with Ernest. I didn't really watch some of the films till later, but Ernest Goes to Camp is just a total cozy film. But Ernest Scared Stupid, yeah, more so than Goosebumps is one I find myself revisiting again and again. I've seen it a couple times now, and every time I like it more and more. I guess before I'm not really the kind of person to watch, Halloween or one of these kinds of films on Halloween or around the time, because I've seen these films so many times that, I think I want something a little bit lighter, and I'm not as interested in kind of the more adult, kind of grotesque, darker kind of films. I kind of want something light on Halloween. I like the idea of this fun kind of holiday, and as well, something even more recent than all of these, which I've come back to again and again, was Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler. And again, it's just, they're in Salem, Massachusetts. A lot of silly gags going on. There's a lot of cameos in this. It's, all of the people you see in the Adam Sandler movies. But there's so many jokes in this. But it's one where Adam Sandler, playing this kind of this innocent kind of like dummy sort of guy who has this great affinity for Halloween. It's just one of these ones you throw on, you have a good time with, you watch it with friends, you watch it with acquaintances, and you just laugh. It's dumb. Comedy is so hard to recommend. It's something I was thinking about recently. I was thinking about why I really couldn't do like a favorite, films of the year. Because, I think back to some of my favorites of the year have been comedies, and it's so not that I would leave them off because I couldn't recommend them, but it's more of a thing of just with comedies in particular. I think you're able to bend the rules of plot and of structure and of consequence in terms of your characters because you're taking it at a farcical kind of level. That's not to say that all comedies are like that, but I found myself far more forgiving with comedies in terms of plot. As long as if I'm enjoying my time watching, if I'm getting laughs out of it, then I can forgive that more than a drama having a weak third act or having a weak, part of the film or anything like that. If I'm enjoying the overall experience, I'm really laughing a lot. I'm going back to it a lot because when I'm thinking about my favorites of the year, I mean, like I said before, there are comedies in there, and I'm like, do I put these comedies in the same group as these quote unquote like great kinds of films, or these I think are great films? They're in completely different leagues and different categories, so it seems almost kind of inappropriate to put this big kind of grandiose epic of a film, and then you have this 90 minute light comedy, and you can say that okay, you like one more than the other, but it's sort of like, well, I don't know, I can watch the comedy 100 times, but maybe you like the big epic more. I don't know. I'm not really interested in kind of the semantics of liking a film more or rankings or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. So that's why I can put together a list of my favorites of the year, and I can just say, well, these are favorites for different reasons. I have the horror films, I have action films, I have dramas, I have comedies, and I like them all. They're my favorites of the year for completely different reasons. I'm not going to try to justify or make an excuse for, why what two kinds of films that are completely different would be in the same grouping. It's just not going to happen, and I don't really see the point of it. So that's what I'm saying with these fun kind of Halloween movies is that these are light, these are family friendly for the most part. Maybe not so Hubie Halloween, but the other two are family friendly, and I'm not really interested in when I watch this. I'm not going to sit here and look at plotting issues or script issues because I'm enjoying the experience so much. I'm having so much fun with these movies. I'm watching them in the context of the holiday that any kind of real critical glasses, regardless if you're even aware of them or not, kind of shave off. Because yeah, if you're watching them on their own at any other time of the year, I think you could be more that way. But it's the same way that many people watch the Lifetime or the Hallmark kind of Christmas movies around Christmas. It's sort of like even the fan base that I would say is more than aware of the redundancies, the script issues, the flat anything like that sort. But it's all about watching it in the context of the holiday. That kind of gives them the levity and the longevity to make them consistently contemporary. But yeah, my point is that when it comes to this time of the year, go out, look at what your cinema's playing. If you got a drive-in near you, some of them, will be showing older horror films. There's new horror films out. There's new ones to rent at home. Horror is not a genre that I go out of my way to seek everything and watch everything. I'm a fan of all kinds of films. And there's not one particular genre that I aim for specifically. Even as much as I love documentaries, and I've talked about documentaries so much on the show, sometimes, unless it's an engaging synopsis or an engaging like idea, like, ooh, what's this about? You run into a lot of them. You run into a lot of them that are just not very good, that sound like one thing, and then you watch it and you're just like, oh man, what is it? But then again, you find so many good ones. So horror in general. Even this year, I don't think I've tried to keep up to date with really all as many many contemporary films as I can. But I would say horror this year has been a little hit or miss. I've seen a couple very good ones that I've talked about in the show, so I don't really need to get into them. But I'll just mention, 28 Years Later, I think is one of the, it's probably, I know as before I'm not doing favorites, but I would say it's probably my favorite horror film of the year. Final Destination Bloodlines is a lot of fun. I'm looking at what I have here. These films are not going to make it to the end of the year in terms of like my 50 kind of favorites list that I do on Letterboxd. But just worth noting that they made it this far. But, Final Destination Bloodlines is a lot of fun. I talked about Good Boy, and, I'm really just impressed by the filmmaking in that. It's not really even a horror film, but honestly, Steven Soderbergh's presence, I think, is just so great. It's one where, just because it's a ghost story, I don't think really necessitates it as a horror film. I think it's a really good character manipulation film. Being as vague as I can with that, like that ending, I thought was so well done. It's so brief, and I'm just like, man, that sums up the whole movie right there. And of course, Weapons, I thought was really exceptional. Zach Kreger, I mean, I just thought that script was so well done. I loved. It's funny. I watched another film recently that I wasn't really a fan of, but it reminded me how much more I liked Weapons, where both films are taking the same story from different points of view. And what I love about Weapons is that it's a film that is constantly unfolding, where as we're shifting to new perspectives, whether it's the teacher, whether it's the principal, whether it's the dad of one of the kids who went missing, we're learning something new more and more, and then you get to like the third act and we're still learning stuff, and it's just like, even when we know what's going on, it's like, whoa, what is going on now? And then this other film I watched, it's like you have the story from different perspectives, but you don't learn anything new. So it's sort of like, why even tell the story in this way? It's not as if we're discovering something new. Yeah, the way I was talking about it before, this other film, is that if you watch the first 20 minutes, you got the whole film. You're not going to learn anything new. You're not left with anything. There's no real ambiguity in this. Where even with Weapons, I love the ending as well, because the ending kind of monologue, I was like, oh, okay, that there's still, there's going to be a lot to work with here. But overall, with a lot of horror this year, I mean, I also just see a lot of bad horror films. I mean, I just see a lot of ones that are just real stinkers. Even some of the good ones that I see, I'm like, do they stay with me? Not really. I mean, even stuff like Ash, which I thought was very good, and The Ugly Stepsister, which I thought was solid actually. A pretty gross film, but and that's a compliment. Am I gonna ever watch them again, or am I ever gonna think about them again? Probably not. I mean, I like Ash more out of these two, but even as much as I like that one, you once you get the idea of what's going on, there's not a lot left to unfold with. But either way, I mean, there are people who I have acquaintances who primarily only watch horror films throughout the year. So these are the people that you want to connect with when you're talking about hidden gems, or you're talking about films that are not going to be on on like these lists of like the best of the year. Because sometimes even when I look at some of like the best films you didn't see this year, and it's still like big release stuff. It's still like maybe they didn't get huge box office numbers, but a lot of times it ends up being like, all right, I think people know about this, or people are talking about this at least. But it's good to have people who are really interested in certain genres, because they're the ones who can, they're doing the deep dives. They're the ones who are really weeding out the good from the bad, and they can really kind of, or at least to them, the good and the bad, and they can mention films that you may not have heard of, and go from there. And that's why it's just so great to have, the acquaintanceship that I have with so many people is just sort of like I can get different film recommendations. I can get different films that get brought up. Even, last week talking about the documentary My Mom Jane. I never would have even known about that film if I hadn't seen an acquaintance log in on Letterboxd, because I haven't heard anyone mention it. I haven't heard anyone talk about it. I'm not scrolling online all day looking at movie news and everything like that. I don't really care, truthfully. So something like that kind of flies by my radar, and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is one that I would have been a day one for. I would have watched it right when it came to streaming, or if I went to the cinema and it was available to watch, I would have gone to the cinema to go see it. So it's nice to have people who are interested in the same things that you are. That's why I like some of these, when I'm talking about before, some of these documentaries, I really like films about people who are passionate about something, whatever it is. I like people who are like that Tetris documentary. Man, that's one where the more I think about it, the more I just really, really loved it, because it's these group of people who are really passionate about Tetris, and they have strategies. They all meet up and they play Tetris, and I'm just like, man, like everyone in this film is just so passionate about what they like, and they all seem like cool kind of guys and girls, and even that documentary I think I mentioned briefly, Man vs. Snake, about these guys who are trying to get the high score in this game, and were really into it, and yeah, I like people who are passionate about something, even if I have no understanding, knowledge, or even interest in it. People who are driven by something, people who get up out of bed every morning because it's like today, whatever it is, today I'm gonna learn. I've been working on a new language, learning a new language, or today I'm going to work on my screenplay, or today I'm going to perfect this level in a video game and get a high score. So I don't know, whatever it is, or you're gonna keep practicing an instrument, or maybe you're at your job. I want to, I'm going to work on that new promotion, so really want to stay focused on this. I know too many people in my past, man, who are just slumming it, man, who just have, at the only thing they look forward to is Friday, the end of the work week, and that's fine. That's their lives. I am not judging sincerely. I am just not that kind of person, man. I have my acquaintances who, even if I completely disagree on a certain film, if they have a strong, if they have a stance on it, they're willing to stand by on a film or on a director or on whatever it is, man, and they are passionate about it. You can see they're passionate about it. I will take that far more than somebody agreeing with me and giving a half-assed response of just like, well, what do you like about the film? Well, it was good. Well, what do you think was good in it? It was good. It's like nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying, I like to have people in my life who are just into something, are just really like making a point to do something, man, to do something, to have a reason to get up every day and to go take on the world, because we all have our struggles, we all have the problems we got to go through, people we got to deal with, and that's life. It has the ups and the downs, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with yourself 24/7. So why not go for something that you are interested in? Maybe you're really into like a karaoke night, or you're into knitting, or you're into bicycling. I'm just naming random things, man. But if you're passionate about these things, then go for it, man. Don't let anyone be like, let you slumming through life. Don't let them hold you back, of just people who, I know too many dudes in the past, man. There was just nothing, I'm whatever. I'm not getting into it, but it's just sort of like dudes who just sit around and they just smoke dope and they watch TV, and that's it, man. It's sort of like, hey, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm not doing that. I'm not sitting around doing that. I'm not gonna, click on the TV and pass out and go to work, come home, click on the TV, pass out, And I've said from the start, I love writing. I love writing so much. And if I showed somebody my writing and they thought it was terrible, and I showed it to people and they thought it was terrible, I'm not saying I don't care, but that is my writing. That is my name on the page. That is what I wanted to write, and I'm open to criticism, to constructive criticism. But at the end of the day, regardless if it's good or it's the worst thing you've ever read or it's the best thing you've ever read, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's what I wanted to write at that time, and I'll stand by it. Same with my films. I've made short films, and I can watch them back. And I can go, not that I'm watching them back, I'm just saying when I've watched them back, in the past with people or anything like that, and I can go and I can see my flaws, or I'm like, oh, I should have trimmed this down, or I should have edited that, or blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, man, it's your name on it. So you're going to stand with it, you're going to disown it, and that's up to you. And all my writing in all my films, I will stand behind. Flaws as evident as ever, man, but they're my flaws, and I did them, and I got no one to blame but myself. So anyways, man, kind of went a little off topic there. But yeah, my point is, it's a great time of the year. Fall is such a great time to get productive stuff done, to get involved with people whom you want to be associated with, to do whatever it is you want to do, man. Go for a walk, go for a drive, go to the cinema, get some ice cream, whatever it is, man. Just do it. Life is too good to be slumming it with people just waiting for the end of the week. It's not going to happen. But anyways, I'm trailing off a bit, so I'm going to cut it off right there. But you guys, you take care, get some pumpkins, put on some scary movies. Halloween is right around the corner. There'll be another episode before Halloween. So we'll talk about that briefly next time. But either way, thanks guys for listening. I really appreciate it if you made it this far. If not, that's okay. It doesn't matter to you. You're not hearing it. I always try to think of something to say at the end, but I never really can think of anything profound or good to end on. So I'm going to end it abruptly. Until next time.